Hi, welcome in. I am Amanda Zane, and I've been exploring evolution all of my life. I was a feature reporter for the news and loved to go into different ethnic restaurants and cultural festivals and learn about being human and the traditions and practices that make people happy. In 2015, I received my certification as a meditation teacher right after graduating with my yoga teacher training at 8 months pregnant. So a lot of growth in those couple years. And I would say the last 4 years have been the most growth, where I got to explore deeply my native heritage, learn from dear friends who mentored me, took me in and showed me a part of my soul that was native, connected to the earth, and familiar with how Mother Earth speaks to us and takes care of us. And the people that I met from Native culture are that frequency I've experienced transforms physical reality. That the love I experienced from my friends in that community transformed me. I had shame of being white, having ancestors who literally led to the oppression of indigenous cultures. So carrying that deep inside me and bringing myself to meet heart to heart with these friends and guides and seeing that they only wanted me to drop the shame, be and embrace love and just be normal. I remember one, he just said, "Stop with the facade. I'm not upset with you. I'm upset with who made you that way." And it really made me feel really sad to hear that I had been wearing a facade, pleasing, and trying to cover up some of that deep rooted shame and that inner conquistador. I didn't like that. I didn't like seeing these beautiful people suffering. And it made me feel kind of bad when I was welcomed with such open arms. Like, why am I categorizing and judging people from their heritage and belief systems? How does that serve when I clearly could see the benefits of just meeting heart to heart? So with the experience of renaming that part of my heritage, I dropped into a state of consciousness that is not how we typically live here in West. And the indigenous people who are urban or on the reservation, they hold same perspective of living close to earth and being with and being one with all. And I didn't realize how difficult it was to hold that perspective and be in that state of being and live in Western society until I left my camper life, back from the desert, and re-entered urban. Seems there are many barriers towards receiving pure communication frequency, electromagnetic support from the earth when we're in Western society. It was really difficult going from being in nature every day and being barefoot on the ground, doing the prayers, eating intentionally, everything intentional, everything a prayer, a blessing, gratitude, to being forced into a pace of life simply to survive in modern Western society without that regenerative frequency support and love from Mother Earth and even from the sky and all the elements. There's an indigenous saying, the worst thing man did was put up 4 walls and a roof. And I can attest to that because really my exploration of my heritage started after my meditation kicked in. After about 3 years, my third eye opened and I could perceive more. I was having more vivid dreams. I was having channelings from higher beings. I was able to go to different realms in my meditation. Like that was not normal while I was studying meditation, practicing meditation, and even teaching meditation for 3 years. And then all of a sudden, it all opened. And that freedom of my higher perceptions, I was naturally drawn to the stars, to being outside. I remember I couldn't sleep. I was going through a lot, fired in the middle of a divorce. I was in a new little basement apartment and just up all night, worried about how I was going to pay for things and take care of my son. And my therapy became going outside and looking at the stars. And cultures for the past history, since the beginning of time, have looked to the stars and used the stars as their guide and mapped their life on Earth with the stars. And they all have names from different cultures. So in my star app, I could go and look up the different names from each culture, and they had very potent meanings that woke up something in me and allowed me to integrate a new lesson, a new part of myself. And you can make sense of that when you understand that light is consciousness. And that light that's coming from the stars is a higher consciousness. So looking up to the stars, receiving those photons that are packaged with consciousness did something for my expansion, my healing, my return to wholeness. In addition to the journey that then unfolded, understanding the frequencies of the earth. Thank goodness for Native Americans and their connection to the earth and their traditions and their knowledge. For example, animal medicine or animal totems. This is a body of knowledge that is pretty much across the board in all indigenous cultures, that animals have certain meanings and messages. And I remember it was 12/13/2020, and I was driving home from a Mystic Hot Springs experience, and I felt inclined to stop at this coyote who had passed away on the side of the road. And in my body, I was repulsed. Something was telling me, go and be with the coyote. I went and I sat with the coyote, and I brought out some sage and started blessing it and just making sure it was free. Later on, I looked up and it was, all your plans are about to go awry. And they had just gone awry. I had just been fired in the middle of a divorce. But coyote, when you look at all the different ways coyote is interpreted in different traditions, coyote seems to represent the human ego. And we have a way in this state of being in Western society of really living in that ego and serving its needs and its image and enabling its fear. So one of my guides, my native guides, he sent me some chants, some healing chants after I told him about the coyote. And looking back, that really was the beginning of a whole different state of being. And those animals kept showing up for me. And I developed a practice for being with those animals and nurturing them, even though I was repulsed physically, nurturing them and loving them. They smelled, they were decayed, they were bloody, there were some really awful ones. And looking at their meaning, I was able to sit with that part of myself that I had totally abandoned or thought was awful or unworthy. And through blessing and loving these animals and integrating their medicine, I was able to bless and love those parts of myself. And I noticed that love is a transformative frequency. When I first saw each animal and had that repulsion, my deepest truth was love and consideration for these animals. I would say more so than my own fear. So that was a practice of alchemizing fear with love and creating this in the shamanic tradition. It's a shamanic gateway. Death is a shamanic gateway because it changes the frequency. It changes your perception. Like when someone that you love dies, you are in a new reality of not having that person, and it changes reality in a big way. And that is a shamanic gateway. That is an entry point into higher states of consciousness. So not only were these beautiful animals shamanic gateways with bridging fear into love and bridging love into all these gifts and meanings and new frequencies, their medicine, but also the sitting with the death itself was an entry point into what I came to live in for a long time, which is I called it the shamanic state of consciousness. It was happening so frequently that I was sitting with these animals, and it coincided with a lot of personal losses in my life. But it was a very tender time where all senses were heightened, where I was attuned to spirit. So sitting with these animals and understanding their energy and understanding what they were teaching me, it tuned me into the non-physical of that animal, which tuned me into the non-physical of the trees, of the earth. Everything was alive. And I know that to be true, that everything is alive. And I lived in that state of consciousness. And that's not abnormal for people who live close to the earth, these indigenous cultures, people who carry their magic and are aware of that and make it a point to practice that ceremony, that ritual, to purify that ego and allow it to open up our higher perceptions and see what's already there. Coming back into society, life has a lot of movement, a lot of mental, a lot of tasks. You really have to prioritize and really fight for connection to this state of consciousness where you are communicating with everything. And it's beautiful that I had the experience I did. Know I can always go into nature, or I can be in frequency, be in that infinite field, that absolute, when I close my meditation. Noticing that it is a warrior's task to maintain one's own frequency in this current society. It's not impossible. It just requires a regular meditation practice. It requires regular connection with the earth. It requires ceremony. We had ceremony, follow your lineage all the way back. Somewhere you were indigenous, where you were a tribe connected to, and you can connect to that part of you in meditation while you're reading in it. And that flame, it never would. I would love to see society become more automated. Sustainability is how we're going to get there. Sustainable systems that allow us more time to be in frequency, be in love, be in connection and communication with the earth and the sky, with all things. You remove the barriers towards our perception and our senses receiving holistic, higher energy. Oh, something popped up. About barriers. Then we are this giving and receiving. We are sustainable in our energy, and we're overflowing into the community and into everything around us. We aren't separate from all these barriers, and we can transform them with love as a frequency. And we envision a society that is supportive of these free-flowing personal systems and free-flowing community systems and interconnectedness. It's going to happen faster than we think. But the first step is understanding that everything is vibration, that we have the ability, it's built in as a human being, we have the ability to sense, see. We are human sensors. When they test of studying. They are looking for the qualitative effect of energy on the system. So it is understood and maybe not voiced that we are the sensor, and these trials are kind of throwing things at us, what works and what doesn't. And there are many things in Western society that are wonderful and supportive. And there are some really amazing ways to nurture that energy system and harmonize frequencies within us that covered up in the early 1900s when frequency medicine became something that the American Medical Association wanted gone. And I will go into that in a later episode. But we've had these incredible, low cost, regenerative, holistic ways of tuning and harmonizing our energy bodies and our environments for the whole time. All that we need is right here. It's simply opening up our perceptions and seeing what's supportive of us and what feels good in your body. Do what feels good. Your emotions are messages. They are messages to sit and to be. They are valuable. You are an energy receptor and transmitter. So when we lose the judgment through meditation of our thoughts and emotions, then we allow what is to be. We allow what is to be. And we envision and imagine and attract what would make us feel more wonderful. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am excited for this journey of sharing all of the ways that we can live in harmony with ourselves and each other and the earth. Frequency is truth. I intend that you ask yourself, if you think this is true or that is true, or if you think that's really going on in the world, or if this is really, what does it feel like in your body? Because energy doesn't lie. Thank you for your attention. I send you love. I intend deep healing and clarity, freedom and abundance, and a supportive world for our future.